Okay, we'll start now. In Indian philosophy, that is in philosophy paper 1, till now we have covered in the class Jainism, Buddhism, then Nyaya Vaisheshik, then Sankhya Yoga. Today we are going to cover another important topic in Indian philosophy, that is MIMASA. Usually 15 to 20 marks question every year do come from this topic, MIMASA. What we will be doing today is first we will go with brief concept of different subtopics in MIMASA. I will try to understand their metaphysics, their epistemology, their soteriology, and then we will also try to take up a few PYQs. Now in PYQs, I just want to tell the students, for 2024 exam paper, I have already taken previous classes, and those class video recordings are also available on YouTube. So today we will take up the PYQ of MIMASA for 2023 and 2022 actual exam questions, whatever have come. First, we will go with MIMASA basic concepts. What is the basic topics, theories covered by them? So now let us start. The word MIMASA itself is derived from Sanskrit, which means to think or to reflect or to critically reflect, basically. So MIMASA refers to systematic inquiry into the Vedas, basically. So this is the main thing for MIMASA. In fact, not only MIMASA, even Vedanta also is a systematic inquiry in Vedas only. But MIMASA, which is also called Purva MIMASA, and Vedanta is also called Uttar MIMASA. So that also I just want to tell you. So the Purva MIMASA, also known as Karma MIMASA, mostly it focuses on rituals, ritualistic portions of Vedas. So their emphasis is on Karam Kand. And on the contrary, the Uttar MIMASA, which is Vedanta, their focus is on philosophical issues in Vedas, and accordingly they are called Gyan Kand. So, you know that MIMASA is one of the orthodox schools, because heterodox and orthodox differentiation, whatever they base their philosophy on Vedas, or they believe in the Vedas, are called orthodox or Astic schools. But out of the orthodox schools, MIMASA is a very unique kind of school. And it is mostly ritualistic, atheistic, and linguistic epistemological rigor. So now let us try to understand what are the main characteristics or main features of MIMASA philosophy. First is, it gives primacy to ritual. And accordingly, as I told earlier, it believes in Karam Kand. So action is central. Karma is central here, which is seen as upholder of cosmic order. Then it also believes in atheism. In MIMASA philosophy, there is no role of God, basically. So it denies any necessary role for God as creator or enforcer of dharma. holding the Vedas as eternal and impersonal. So for them, Vedas are the main. Now, next is, it also believes in epistemological exclusivism, which means that it maintains dharma as accessible only through Shruti, that is revealed words of the Vedas, or when basically Vedas become the authority here. And there is no dharma which is accessible through empirical means. So Mimamsa as a system is basically morality scripturally mandated through Vedas, ritualistically enacted because of Karma Kand, and linguistically encoded. So these are the main characteristics of Mimamsa philosophy, which is not found in other philosophical systems in Indian philosophy. Now let us try to understand who are the main exponents of Mimamsa, because anyway we know that Prabhakar and Kumaril, these are two main branches, but then who are the others affiliated with this? Let us try to understand that also, because sometimes quoting them in actual exam, that also benefits a lot. So Jamini. Now Jamini's Mimamsa Sutra, he has written Mimamsa Sutra. He was the philosopher in 3rd century BC. Now it marked the beginning of Mimamsa establishment. So what basically Mimamsa Sutra does is, it gives rules of Vedic interpretation and the principle that Vedic injunctions are autonomous sources of duty. They call it Vidhi. Then another philosopher, Sabara Swamin. Now he has written Sabara Bhasya in 5th century. Is the earliest full commentary systematizing ritual logic and Vedic exegesis. Now, as I told, there are two major sub-schools of Mimamsa, which actually is the main topic of civil services, also Prabhakar Mimamsa and Kumaril Mimamsa, Bhatt Mimamsa. So sub-schools and thinkers, two major schools are there. Now, first is Bhatta school, that is Kumaril Bhatt exponent, main exponent in 7th century. He developed a realist epistemology. 6 pramanas he gave, means of knowledge. He upheld Vedic authority, defending the autonomy of Sabda, that is verbal testimony. He emphasized the doctrine of Abhihitanyavad, that is sentence meaning arises from word meanings. Now, he was critical opponent of Buddhist and Jain epistemologies, that is Kumaril Bhatt, Bhatt school of Mimamsa. Another school, Prabhakar school of Mimamsa, whose exponent was Prabhakar Mishra. In 7th and 8th century, he emphasized contextual language theory. So you see, now Kumaril Bhatt has emphasized doctrine of sentence meaning arises from word meanings. Now he says meaning arises in sentential context. And he gave the theory of Anvitavi Dhanvada against Abhihitanyavada. He introduced, that is Prabhakar introduced Triputi Pratyaksha, threefold perception. He argued for 5 pramanas. You see, Kumaril has gone for 6 pramanas. But Prabhakar goes with 5 pramanas only, because Kumaril has added another, that is anuplabdhi, absence of knowledge. So therefore Kumaril's number of pramanas is 6, whereas Prabhakar only 5. And he has given more inclusive ethical subjectivity in ritual interpretation. But both schools base their philosophy on Vedas. They believe that Vedas are eternal and authorless, apauruseya, nitya and apauruseya. So these are Sanskrit words used for that. And therefore immune from any human error or subjective interpolation. So Vedas are basically error-free. That was their concept. So these are the essence, basic essence of Mimamsa philosophy and different proponents. Now let us try to understand epistemology and metaphysics. Now in epistemology, we study pramanas and theories of knowledge. As you know, nature and definition of prama, that is valid cognition, is characterized by that it's not sublated or contradicted by subsequent cognition. It's previously unknown and it corresponds to reality. So these are the characteristics of or nature of valid knowledge. That is, if you say in Sanskrit, avadhit, anadhigata, and yathartha. Now, how many pramanas? We have earlier also seen. Jamini only with 3 pramanas, that is Pratyaksha, Anuman, and Sabda. Prabhakar goes with 5 pramanas. He adds Upman, that is analogy and comparison, and Arthapatti, that is postulation, also making it 5. Kumaril adds another one, that is Anuplabdhi, non-apprehension or absence, and making it 6. So these are the number of pramanas by different exponents of Mimamsa philosophy. Now let us try to understand what are the key technicalities as far as epistemology is concerned. Pratyaksha is divided in 2 parts, Nirvikalp and Savikalp. Nirvikalp is preconceptual, Savikalp conceptual. A move that anticipates debates in phenomenology and analytic philosophy. So these are the 2 main divisions in Pratyaksha, that is perception. Shabda, that is central pillar of Mimamsa, only the Vedic form of testimony is considered infallible. This highlights their scriptural exclusion. And then Anuplabdhi, promoted by Kumaril. This is epistemic mechanism for knowing absences. There is no pot on the floor, for example. This is rejected by Prabhakara as distinct pramana because he says that Anuplabdhi is not required because it can be known through inference also. Now, as we know, there are 2 main theories of validity of knowledge, Partah Pramanyavad and Swatah Pramanyavad. Now, Mimamsa believes in Swatah Pramanyavad. That is doctrine of validity of knowledge. So knowledge is intrinsically valid unless proven otherwise, opposed to Nyaya's Partha Praman, because Nyaya Vaisesik believes in Partha Pramanyavad. Mimamsa believes in Swatah Pramanyavad. Earlier also, we have, when were we studying Nyaya Vaisesik chapter, then also we discussed it in detail. So here also, we should understand that Mimamsa believes in Swatah Pramanyavad. That is intrinsic validity of knowledge. Because Mimamsa says that unless knowledge is intrinsically valid, it will lead to infinite regress and epistemic paralysis. Now, if we compare different philosophies, Mimamsa and Nyaya, if we compare, let us say Nyaya Vaisesik, Nyaya. Mimamsa is radical, whereas Nyaya requires external collaboration. Mimamsa allows cognition to be provisionally accepted until specifically falsified, prioritizing epistemic efficiency. So this is basically main difference between Swata Pramanavad and Parta Pramanavad also. So therefore, Nyaya and Mimamsa are placed against each other as far as theory of validity of knowledge is concerned. Now, as had already been told that philosophy of language is very, very important concept moved by or basically advocated by Mimamsa philosophers. So now let us try to understand that. Mimamsa made groundbreaking advances in this theory of interpretation of different words or different sentences. And what are they? Let us try to understand that. Now, Shabda Bodha and Vakyartha. So, Shabda Bodha means meaning of a word. Vakyartha means meaning of a sentence. Now, there are two proponents, Kumaril and Prabhakar. Now, Kumaril has given the theory of Abhihitan Vyavad. Prabhakar has given the theory of Anvitabhi Dhanvad. Now, Kumaril's theory mentions that words individually denote meanings and sentence meaning arises from their syntactic connection. This is Kumaril's view. Prabhakar says words acquire meaning only in sentential context. Meaning is not modular but holistic. So basically, Prabhakar adds context also in the sentence, and in different contexts, different words will have different meaning. That's what Prabhakar says. Now, what is the significance of this debate? This debate prefigures modern theories, notably of Wittgenstein's language games, or Queen's semantic holism, and Austin's speech act theory. So these are the different modern theories from Western philosophy. So this Mimamsa discussion basically prefigures these modern theories. Mimamsa developed Lakshana, that is secondary meaning. Then Gauna, that is figurative meaning. And Tatparya, that is intention of the text. Tools still used by Indian courts in constitutional interpretation. So if you are a student of law, you will understand how legal sentences or legal provisions in constitution and different acts are interpreted. So the Mimamsa theory prefigures that also. For example, their theory of Lakshana, Guna, Gauna, and Tatparya, they are used for different interpretations. So it has a very good relevance as far as this kind of interpretations are concerned. And accordingly, its relevance, the methodologies of textual dissection, contextual analysis, and syntactic coherence in Mimamsa are directly relevant for legal hermeneutics and modern semiotics. So on the one hand, legal and then modern semiotics also. So their theories are very, very important as far as these interpretations are concerned. Now let us try to understand in very brief metaphysics and ethics of Mimamsa. Now in this, there are three important terms basically. One is dharma, then apurva, and then moksha. So in brief, let us try to understand the meaning of these terms. Now dharma defined as that which is enjoined by Vedic command, because they base their philosophy totally on Vedas. So dharma is that which is enjoined by Vedic command, that is vidhi, independent of intention or consequences. And it is not empirically accessible. Only Shabdas reveal dharma. Then next concept is of apurva. Apurva is a very, very unique concept from Mimamsa philosophy. It is subtle, non-perceptible potency generated by ritual action, linking the act, that is karma, with its eventual result, that is phala. Because see, Mimamsa is a philosophy on which most of modern Hindu rituals are also based, in a way you can say. Because if you do some puja, or if you do some chanting, or if you do some, so what Mimamsa says, that a non-perceptible potency generated by rituals, which is called apurva, and it links the karma, that is act, with phala. What is karma? It has to be based on Vedic doctrines given in Vedas. So this is, in brief, apurva. It justifies ritual causality without positing a deity, making Mimamsa both atheistic and ritual realist. So Mimamsa is atheistic and ritual realist. Now let us see moksha for Mimamsa. What is moksha? For Mimamsa, liberation is not union with Brahma, as Vedanta says, but cessation of suffering and rebirth. So this is the Mimamsa conception of moksha, through detachment and gradual exhaustion of karma. So in a way, it is non-mystical or self-realizational in overtones. It's rather a practical, action-based soteriology. Now, ethics. Now, let us in brief try to understand what is the Mimamsa ethics. It's a strictly deontological, duty-based, as you know, Kant's deontology in Western philosophy. So accordingly, here also, Mimamsa posits the same kind of theory. Right action is that which conforms to Vedic prescription. So here they emphasize on Vedic prescription, not that which brings about good consequences, that is utilitarianism, or proceeds from intention. So on the one hand, even though it's a deontological theory, but still it is different from Kant as well as Mill and Bentham also. So that also we should try to understand. It's not same. Their deontology is not same as Kant's or even utilitarianism of Mill and Bentham. Now, what is its relevance? The idea that a secular impersonal law can be the ultimate arbiter of morality parallels debates about the source of law and morality in contemporary philosophy. So basically, a secular impersonal law can be a moral governor. It can govern morality rather than God or some other external agency. So this is their main relevance. Now let us try to understand what is their theory of error, because this question also has been asked in exams, in UPSC exam. Now, in theory of error also, these two branches of Kumaril and Prabhakar are little different. Let us try to understand their differences. Prabhakar says akhyati. Kumaril says viparit khyati. What is akhyati? Illusion is due to failure in distinguishing between current perception and memory. There is no actual false cognition, only incomplete discrimination. This is the description of error by Prabhakar. What Kumaril says, illusion arises when the memory of one object is misattributed to another, as in mistaking shell for silver. Both theories are realist. They avoid metaphysical speculation about unreality of the object and focus on cognitive process errors. So even though both are little different, but there is similarity also. That also we should try to understand. Now, what are the inter-school comparisons? Now, let us try to see that also. Now, if we take up the Nyaya philosophy, now Nyaya has advocated Partha Pramanyavad, Mimamsa has advocated Swatah Pramanyavad. So Nyaya's Partha Pramanyavad, that is in theory of intrinsic validity, is critiqued for leading to regress and undermining epistemic functionality by MIMASA. Now, for Buddhism skepticism towards cognition and its denial of enduring reality are seen by MIMASA as fatal to stability of Dharma and the authority of Veda. So this is MIMASA criticism of Buddhism also. Now, what is the MIMASA view regarding Sankhya? Sankhya's ambivalence on cognition's validity is rejected as internally inconsistent. So, against these three philosophical schools, this is the view of MIMASA that also we should remember. MIMASA's self-validating epistemology, because it's Swata Pramanyavad, ritual metaphysics based on Vedic philosophy, and pluralistic realism are positioned as systematic rational alternatives. Now, what are its strengths and weaknesses of MIMASA? Now, let us try to understand that also in critical evaluation. Now, in strengths, if we see, they have given pioneering theories in epistemology, semantics, hermeneutics, influencing later Indian and Western thought. Then they have promoted atheistic rationality, promotes moral autonomy, dispensing with divine command theory, based on, of course, Vedas. Then their textual and interpretative precision provides tool for complex legal, grammatical, and philosophical analysis. That also we have seen. Now, what are the weaknesses of MIMASA philosophy? Now, first thing, overemphasis on ritualism. So, ritualism's limit risk spiritual formalism and mechanical performance devoid of inner transformation. Because if you overemphasize rituals, same thing is going to happen. Then metaphysical opacity of Apurva. They have given the doctrine of Apurva, that it's some kind of potency which is obtained by some ritual performance, but then there is no transparency in whole process. The notion is criticized as unverifiable, akin to postulating unseen links without empirical basis. Next is neglect of intention and inner morality. It lacks a developed account of why one should be moral, focusing instead on how to act per scriptural mandates. So this is also not clear why one should accept Vedas. I mean, you to tell that Vedas are infallible, but why one should believe? I mean, that kind of problem is also there. Then philosophical challenge. Can a system based solely on linguistic mandates sustain enduring moral authority without reference to reason, intention, community, or universal values? Because these are very, very important. Reason, intention, community, or universal values. And they, on overemphasis on Vedas and rituals, they neglect all this. Now, modern critics, J.N. Mohanty, notes that MIMASA's procedural morality, because they have given procedural morality, remains influential, but its lack of inwardness marks a limitation compared to Vedanta or Buddhism, because he considers Vedanta or Buddhism a superior philosophy compared to MIMASA. Now, what is the modern relevance and legacy? I mean, we have already discussed that, but let's briefly try to conclude this. First is, as in legal interpretations, it's quite useful. MIMASA methods are used by even Indian courts for interpreting. So MIMASA methods, so this is also important. Then another is epistemological relevance. It anticipates foundationalism and debates on self-evidence in analytic philosophy. Then hermeneutics and semiotics. It anticipates debates in literary theory. For example, intentional fallacy, semantic holism, etc. Then secular ethics and public reasoning models a normative system without recourse to God, making it particularly resonant for pluralistic secular societies seeking non-religious moral frameworks. But then it will have to divert from Mimamsa because they base their total philosophy on Vedas. But if you want to make it totally secular, then you will have to base it on some other basically basis. But then still, it's like that. Now, comparative philosophy, it offers insight in it offers insight into how ritual languages can serve as vehicles for ethical, legal, and social order, paralleling legal positivism and textualism in the West. So, this basically in brief completes Mimamsa philosophy. In conclusion, definitely it is one of the most rational, textually grounded, and uniquely ritual-centric systems in Indian philosophy. As we understand, it demonstrates how morality, social order, and personal discipline can be grounded in the authority of text and rational interpretation rather than divine command or metaphysical speculation. Mimamsa is invaluable for its contribution to Indian logic, philosophy of language, and legal interpretation. Now, this is their main contribution. Its lasting significance lies in integration of ritual, reason, and textuality as source of both social order and philosophical insight. So this completes basically in brief, very brief, Mimamsa, basics of Mimamsa philosophy. I will be taking another class where some important questions or some important topics, subtopics of Mimamsa, I will be trying to explain in detail. But what I'm going to do today is now, we'll take up the a few PYQs for Mimamsa. So because that will be more useful as far as the students are concerned, because after a few days, there is this year's exam also, mains exam, and it may be useful for practice also of other students who are not appearing in this year's exam. As I told earlier, 2024 exam papers have already discussed and given model answers for that in my previous classes. The videos are also available on the YouTube. You can see there. Now, in 2023 and 2022, whatever the questions asked from Mimamsa, I am going to discuss now. So in 2023, if you see, this is the question, 15 marks question up to 25 marks. Present Bhatta's view of Anuplabdhi as a valid means of knowledge. So this is the question. Present Bhatta's view of Anuplabdhi, non-cognition, as a valid means of knowledge. So this is 15 marks to 25 words question. Now, this is very direct question, simple question. We have to present what are Bhatta's view, Kumaril Bhatt's view regarding Anuplabdhi. And while presenting the view, definitely we will have to take a few critical points also. We'll try to evaluate very briefly, because here the question directive does not say critically evaluate, but present view, Bhatta's view also. Briefly, we can definitely mention comparisons with the Prabhakar and a few sentences, maybe 2-3 sentences of critical views also. So now let us see how we can write a model answer for in 200 words or 225 words for this question up to 2023 exam. Now, in Bhatta Mimamsa, Anuplabdhi is accepted as a distinct pramana for apprehending abhava, that is non-existence. So this is a direct approach without wasting even a single line or single sentence. You can see directly you are hitting the bullseye. You understand the directive of the question and accordingly you deal with the question. Kumaril Bhatt in Sloka Vartika, now it is his book. If you refer some document or some text or some book written by the philosophers, that is going to add to your value to the answer. So Sloka Vartika and Tantra Vartika, these are two books of Kumaril Bhatt, argues that Pratyaksha and Anumana cannot reveal absence directly, as they presuppose existent correlates. For instance, the knowledge the pot is absent cannot arise from perception of what is not there. So this is the view of Kumaril Bhatt, which is mentioned in Sloka Vartika and Tantra Vartika. Now, Anuplabdhi is classified into, so it's there are different classifications also given by Kumaril Bhatt. First is Karana Anuplabdhi. that is non-perception of a cause. Second is Vyapak Anuplabdhi, that is of pervader. Third is Swabhava Anuplabdhi, essential or absence. Then Viruddha Anuplabdhi, due to contradiction, developed further by Parth Mishra and Salikant. Now, Prabhakar Mimamsa. So now here in this, if you see, first we have discussed Kumaril Bhatt Mimamsa and description of Anuplabdhi. And we have also said that what are the different kinds of Anuplabdhi as enunciated by Kumaril school. And it has been also developed by two other subsequent philosophers of that school, Parth Mishra and Salikanta. Now, we have to bring out little critical valuation also. So, Prabhakar Mimamsaks deny its independence, viewing absence as a form of perception qualified by non-apprehension. Nyaya through, now these are Nyaya philosophers, Ganesha and Udyotkara, treat absence as inferred knowledge, not direct. Critics question whether non-being can serve as a cognitive object. However, Bhattas, that is Kumaril Bhatt school, defend that under proper epistemic conditions, Anuplabdhi is reliable and irreducible. Now, this is the Indian comparison and little critique. But what modern philosophy or modern theories say regarding Anuplabdhi? So modern philosophers like Bhatt and Russell and D.M. Armstrong support the idea that absence can ground truth. Thus, Anuplabdhi reflects the Bhattas schools of commitment to epistemic completeness, ensuring that absence is accounted for within systematic knowledge. So now this completes the answer. Now we have given a brief comparison with Indian schools. We have also given a brief comparison with Western philosophy or modern thinkers, modern philosophers, and then finally conclusion also. Now we'll go to next question, which is again 2023 question. So, but this question is not fully from Mimamsa, because part of the question is also from Nyaya. So if you can say half of the question is of Mimamsa, so earlier was 15 marks and this 7 marks. So roughly 20-25 marks question is from Mimamsa in 2023. So the question is, do words refer to universals or particulars or both? Present an exposition of Nyaya and Mimamsa position with regard to above question along with suitable examples. So basically, now you have to give an exposition of Nyaya and Mimamsa that whether words refer to universals or particulars or both. And then we have to also quote suitable examples. Now here also very briefly, we will try to bring in critical inputs. We will try to see what various critics in brief say about both the positions, Nyaya position as well as Mimamsa position. Now let us try to understand what can be the model answer. The question of Shabda Vritti, that is whether words denote Jati, that is universal, or Vyakti, that is particular, or both, is central to Indian semantics. And as I keep on telling, when you are dealing with Indian philosophy, we need to use Sanskrit words, original references, phrases, Sanskrit phrases also, original text also. When we deal with Western philosophy, then also same thing, but then there it may be in the Greek, Latin, or English. So accordingly, we have to use original because that will add value to your answer. So here also we are doing the same thing. Now, what Nyaya and Mimamsa say about this Shabdavritti, let us see that. Nyaya following Vatsyayana and Udyotkara, these two are Nyaya philosophers. Now, quoting philosophers also is very, very important because if you quote, you are going to get better marks. Holds that words primarily denote Jati. For instance, the word Gau, that is cow, refers to cowness, common to all individual cows. This ensures semantic stability as universals are nitya and consistent across contexts. Now, what Bhatt Mimamsa and Kumaril Mimamsa, Bhatt Mimamsa, that is Kumaril Bhatt says, because here also we will again deal with Bhatt Mimamsa and Prabhakar Mimamsa. So Bhatt Mimamsa, Kumaril Bhatt argues that words denote particulars qualified by universals. That is Jati Vishesh Vyakti. When one hears cow, one apprehends a specific animal marked by cowness. Another Bhatt Mimamsa philosopher, Salikant Mishra, emphasizes that cognition involves the joint presentation of both. So Kumaril Bhatt says its particulars qualified by universals. Now let us say what Prabhakar says. Prabhakar Mimamsa, led by Prabhakar Mishra, denies separate reference to universals. For him, the word directly reveals particulars inherently qualified by universals. No independent cognition of jati is needed. So this is the view of Prabhakar Mimamsa. Now, what is a critical view briefly, because this is exposition is now complete. Now, just to add more value to answer, we will very briefly go with a few critical points and try to also take up some contemporary linguistic views and try to conclude. Critically, while Nyaya accounts for linguistic generality, Bhatta Mimamsa better reflects practical uses. Contemporary linguistics like Frey's distinction between sense and reference parallels this layered approach of meaning. So what we are trying to say, that contemporary linguistics supports the view of Bhatta Mimamsa. Thus, these schools present distinct yet coherent accounts of how language bridges abstraction and particularity in cognition. Now we'll go to 2022. Now 2022, this is 20 marks question asked in the exam. 7A means 20 marks, 300 words we have to reply. In spite of accepting the intrinsic validity of knowledge, that is Swata Pramanivad, why and how Prabhakara and Kumaril differ in their interpretation of erroneous cognition. Just now we have seen they are different. So, and the directive is to discuss. So here, definitely 30% we will have to devote for some critical evaluation kind of thing of both Prabhakar and Kumaril's view. And we have to also give the exposition in about 65 to 70% of words out of 300. So again, I will read the question. In spite of accepting the intrinsic validity of knowledge, why and how Prabhakar and Kumaril differ in their interpretation of erroneous cognition? Discuss. Now let us try to understand what will be the answer. Both Prabhakar Mishra and Kumaril Bhatt accept the Mimamsa doctrine of Swata Pramanivad. We have seen that the intrinsic validity of cognition, but they diverge sharply in their theories of error. That is Khyati. Khyati is error due to different epistemological assumptions about how knowledge is structured. Now, Kumaril Bhatt, in his Slok Vartika, advocates Anyatha Khyativad, where error arises from misapplying remembered content to present perception. So this is the view of Kumaril Bhatt. In mistaking a shell for silver, silver is remembered and erroneously attributed to the perceived shell. This theory, later supported by Vachaspati Mishra, treats error as a composite of perception and memory. So for Kumaril Bhatt, error is a composition of perception and memory, pratyaksha and smriti. Though the cognition is invalid, it retains intrinsic validity until contradicted. So this is the Kumaril's view. Now let us see what Prabhakar says. Prabhakar, through his Bhrati and as interpreted by Shalikant Mishra, proposes akhyativad. So if you see, Kumaril says anyatha khyativad, and here it is akhyativad, where error results from a failure to apprehend the absence of the supposed object. In the same case, one simply does not perceive that shell is not silver. There is no projection or superimposition. only a non-cognition, that is akhyati of the real estate. So this is the view of Prabhakar. Now, let us try to understand little critically. Critically, Kumaril's view explains the positive appearance in illusions, but is critiqued for undermining perceptual autonomy. Gangesha of Nyaya Vaisesik, that is Navya Nyaya, prefers inferential models over both. Then another philosopher, Dharmakirti, in contrast, critiques both Mimamsaks by upholding Alik Vijnana, that is, erroneous cognition is non-veridical appearance without any real object behind it. So this is the criticism from Nyaya as well as from Buddhism. Now, what modern cognitive science says, let us try to understand that also. Emphasizes constructivist perception, aligns more with Kumaril's synthesis model. Prabhakar's model, while preserving perceptual purity, lacks explanatory depth for why illusions appear realistic. So basically, modern view is more in support of Kumaril Bhatt's views. That's what the understanding is. Thus, despite agreeing on intrinsic validity, their divergent Khyati theories reflect foundational disagreements on how error arises in consciousness. Now, this is the question which was asked in 2022. Now, this will complete today's presentation and today's discussion. I hope this Mimamsa, basics of Mimamsa you have understood, and since 3 questions also I have taken from 2023 and 2022, how to write good answers from Mimamsa, that also you will be understanding. Detailed analysis of Mimamsa subtopics I will be taking in future classes whenever time permits. Next week, I will try to take up Vedanta. First, again, we will try to discuss basics of Vedanta in brief. And if time permits, we will take some PYQs also. Or if not, then we can take PYQs in next class also. So thank you for watching today's video. Thank you one and all.